Mastercard bought Ciphertrace yesterday. So Ciphertrace, they develop tools that help businesses and law enforcement root out illicit digital currency transactions. They provide solutions for some of the largest banks, exchanges, and other financial institutions in the world. In June, Dan Loeb's Third Point Ventures led a $27.1 million Series B round, and they also received a board seat. So why the hell is a legacy card network like Mastercard, shout out Masterworks, Mastercard buying Ciphertrace? Well, it gives Mastercard the ability to track over 900 cryptocurrencies. It states that it'll help its customers protect themselves and comply with regulations as they start to build out their own digital currency offerings. And the acquisition is part of Mastercard's strategy in the digital asset space to help provide customers, merchants, and businesses with more choice in how they move digital value. Now, it's really interesting because Visa and Mastercard have actually been some of the more forward-thinking legacy financial players in this industry. Visa, as we know, they bought a CryptoPunk. They've been all over stablecoins with USDC. They were very early to trying to figure out how to support on the cards, spending cryptocurrencies. They also have the BlockFi Bitcoin Reward Credit Card. They've been doing things in Bitcoin and Ethereum, etc. So pretty interesting. Mastercard, on the other hand, has not been as public about it, but they do have partnerships with Gemini, BitPay, Uphold, and others. They've created a brand new platform to test and support central bank digital currencies, and the programs that they do have support the use of blockchain technology, NFTs, and select stablecoins directly on its network. So we've got a couple of quotes, I believe, from the players here. First, from the CEO of Ciphertrace, Dave Jevons. We help companies, whether they are banks or cryptocurrency exchanges, government regulators, or law enforcement, to keep the crypto economy safe. Our two companies share this vision to provide security and trust throughout the ecosystem. We are thrilled to join the Mastercard family to scale Ciphertrace's reach across the globe. Pretty interesting. Second quote that we have is from the president of cyber and intelligence at Mastercard, who, by the way, just looks like he'd be the president of cyber and intelligence, right? Like my guy, like, let's rate the mustache. I'm going to go with a 9 out of 10. Pretty strong, real full.
8.8 out of 10 for me.
8.8, that's fine.
That's a good
Absolutely
mustache.
killing it.
That's a cop mustache.
Definitely a cop mustache.
No, you don't. Well, who's that guy?
No, that is not only a cop, that is I'm trying to be an undercover agent, but everyone on the block knows I'm a cop mustache. Shows up, says, I got my cup of coffee and my gun, don't move. Put your hands to the sky. That mustache is all time. Ajay Bahala. AJ, I don't know how you pronounce it. With the rapid growth of the digital asset ecosystem, damn, I can't read today. Like forget Ebenezer Scrooge. I'm out here like Floyd Mayweather. I can't read. Green eggs and ham. Shout out to anyone on the internet. Quote, with the rapid growth of the digital asset ecosystem comes the need to ensure it is trusted and safe. Our aim is to build upon the complementary capabilities of Mastercard and Ciphertrace to do just that. Makes a lot of sense. Here's my take. I don't have any answers more so than anybody else, but my general take is the following. One, let's take Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a transparent ledger. It means that every single transaction is done publicly, and you can see who is the sending wallet, who is the receiving wallet, how much is the amount, when was it done, etc. If there's any messages in there, you could also see that as well. Now, when you have a public ledger, it does some really positive things. One is you can use that public blockchain to make sure that there's no double spending. Two is that you can ensure that every single transaction is seen. It's transparent on a public ledger. The third thing is that it makes it really hard for criminals to do nefarious things because every single transaction is logged publicly. On top of that, what it does is it drastically increases the ability for law enforcement to be able to look at the public blockchain, see who is transacting with who, how much, when, etc. And so if they deem that somebody has done something illicit, they can actually track the funds on the public blockchain. All of that is pro law enforcement, pro transparency, pro accountability. The downside to that is it drastically increases the financial surveillance capabilities. It drastically removes financial privacy for those that are using the system. And it really, really opens up a conversation around what are your personal rights and individual liberties and how can you still maintain financial privacy while using a great technology like the Bitcoin blockchain. So what ends up happening is there are a couple of different ways that you can, kind of address this. One is there's a ton of stuff that gets done off chain that ends up then getting written onto the Bitcoin blockchain. The second thing is that you can actually use things like CoinJoin or others that have a way to somewhat mask or make it more difficult to track and trace cryptocurrencies. There's questions about the legality of that, but that is an option today. And then lastly is you can choose not to use the system, which I think over time will become increasingly more and more difficult. I recently had a conversation. He's going to be really excited that I'm going to say this right now because he spent quite a bit of time showing me this with Zuko, who is the creator of Zcash. And Zuko was showing me that Zcash, which uses something called ZK Snarks and some other cryptography, basically has a way to send a transaction. Let's say I'm sending it to John, where we can shield who the sender is, who the recipient is, and what amount, and any message that's within the transaction. It's shielded, but the transaction still occurs, and you can ensure on the blockchain that it doesn't get double spent. Pretty interesting. Now, over time, is that possible that Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies could take that technology and start to incorporate it? Yes. Will they do it? It would require an upgrade. It would require a lot of changes to be made. So in the past, there's not been an appetite to do that, but things like that, the privacy technology is pretty interesting. And so we'll see how that kind of permeates. When it comes to companies like this, there are some things that fall in the regulatory bucket. I'm an investor in a company called Elementus. There's Ciphertrace. There's a bunch of these. And the regulatory standpoint is they're trying to prevent money laundering. They're trying to prevent all sorts of nefarious or malicious activity. On top of that, there is a law enforcement capability. So somebody stole something from John, we can track the actual funds. We can go from a law enforcement standpoint and use the blockchain to do that. And then lastly is there's an analytics component to it as well. And so when you think from an analytics standpoint, if we have a public blockchain, similar to the on-chain metrics, we can do all sorts of analysis to really start to understand what is happening, who's doing it, and if that trend is going up, down, staying stagnant, etc. Really, really interesting when you have a public blockchain, everything that it empowers. John, what do you think? You did a lot of work on this in terms of understanding this. What do you think about the Ciphertrace acquisition by Mastercard?
It's a win-win.
Why?
Both companies benefit greatly from it. Mastercard gets to integrate with Ciphertrace, right? They now run their business. As the digital economy grows, Ciphertrace should be more valuable to people. You see that Visa and Mastercard are the two biggest players in this space, right? They are, I think, some of the most innovative players in the space as well, just based off their way to kind of adapt to the digital economy that's growing. Mastercard does the Gemini card, right? And then Visa does the BlockFi card. So they understand what's going on in this space. It adds more validity to this space. It's Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies clearly aren't going anywhere anytime soon, or probably in the future at all. So it's cool to see, but of course they're innovating around this. Of course they're looking at companies and acquiring companies. It's pretty cool to see Dan Loeb's, Third Point Ventures, right?
Yeah.
This is his company, Third Point Ventures. Yeah. I'm assuming they still retain some equity in the company, but I love it. Win for him as well.
Polina, any thoughts?
So I wanted to see how much venture capital they've raised. It looks like 45 million, and they're backed by Third Point, and West Wave Capital and Galaxy Digital and Aspect Ventures. Interesting that MasterCard hadn't made an investment before buying it. Typically these like MasterCard, Visa, they like invest a little bit, see how it goes, and then it becomes an acquisition target. I'm curious, John, did you find how much they bought it for?
No, it was an undisclosed amount, so no one knows but the two parties involved.
So do we think that...
And the IRS, when they'll cover the taxes. Yeah. The two parties in the IRS know. What's up, guys? Bang, bang. Thanks so much for watching the Best Business Show today. If we're going to be the best business show, we obviously need the best partner. That's why the exclusive sponsor of the Best Business Show is SoFi. They're an all-in-one platform that allows you to invest in all kinds of different assets, including stocks, ETFs, crypto, IPOs, and they even have an automated investing function, if that's your thing. So before we start getting after it again, make sure that you go download SoFi, you get an invest account, and when you make your first crypto trade, regardless of what you buy, they'll give you $10 in Bitcoin for free. It's that simple. Head on over to SoFi.com/pomp to get started today. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope that you come back and watch more of the Best Business Show tomorrow.